So hello, welcome back to the channel. If you are joining this journey randomly and you haven't been following the DBX story, we are down at a wonderful company in Birmingham called Vortons, who have been making Aston Martin badges for how long, Nick?
Since about the 1960s.
1960s.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we are here to make the badge which is going to go on the JWW edition DBX. For anyone tuning in now, I have been part of the most incredible journey to create a series production car, which I've had the honor actually of designing. I still can't believe that those words are leaving my mouth. It still feels a bit odd. But a really big part of this project is that we are making our own custom badge. Now, when this project started, I wasn't aware of what a big deal that was, but Marek Reichman at Aston said, for a spotter context, mate, what you've asked us to do is like going to Chanel and asking them to flip the C's. So I was like, okay, I didn't realize it was that big a deal. So here we are at the company, Vortons, that make the badges. A spotter context, how long have you been doing this for?
Well, company was established in 1819.
So a while.
It was 200 years old last year.
Okay, wow.
The wings badges themselves, supplying Aston Martin heritage since around the 60s.
Wow, okay.
And then Aston Martin Gaydon, so main production since 2012. Quite a surprise to me on Friday that you're having a completely different spec.
Yes.
So you're not having the enamel badges, something slightly different, which you're going to do. I think we're going to make them look pretty special.
Cool.
Which obviously we'll get you having a go on that as well. But it should be good. Should be
Great
interesting
stuff,
for you.
It's not just car badges that you make or have been making.
As you know, the CV kind of started very early.
Yeah.
From the Football League through to the Olympic medals, and that was the same year Rolls-Royce was founded. So Vortons were the original suppliers for the Rolls-Royce nose badges.
Wow. Okay.
In polished chrome. So when any original Rolls-Royces you see with the red enamel in them, that'll be our badge.
Okay.
And then fast forward a few years, we made the first class plaques on the Titanic. All the first class suites, they were all made for Titanic.
Unreal.
And then throughout the years, we've been known as a bolt manufacturer, mayoral chains of office, various of the sports medals such as the Six Nations, the Premier League, the 2020, the T20. And then obviously special commissions for heads of state around the world. So it's not all automotive, but what we did, we took this kind of jewellery ethos, so this jewel manufacturing ethos, and we kind of put that onto a car as well. So now what we like to say is, it's no longer a badge; it is a jewel for a car, which obviously adds to it does make it more special. And because some of them we make them in precious metal as well.
So the idea of today then is to take you along for the journey, setting context of why Vortons are so significant in this story, but also I think it's going to be fascinating. I've never seen one of these being made. Prior to shooting this, we spent some time in Nick's office and he was showing us badges. Like once you hold one and you see the amount of work in it, even the weight of them. Yeah. This for me, I haven't even stepped through that door yet. You'll be seeing it with me firsthand. So it'll be a really interesting journey. And the whole point of each episode of this series is to set context to just how much work goes into each stage. All right, wow, check it out.
This is the very beginning of the process of stamping anything, basically. The metal itself is all stored here. We're currently stocking about 4 or 5 tons there. It doesn't look a lot. It doesn't look like that much.
4 or 5 tons.
That's about 4 or 5 tons, yeah.
Okay.
So we have different gauges, different thicknesses of metal for different jobs. Right. So you've got your thin, what we call the thin bendy metal, which will be for small badges or tie pins, anything like that.
Right.
Through to your thicker material, which is here, which will be for the Aston Martin wings badges, for example.
That's hefty, eh?
Yeah, it's pretty heavy.
That is hefty. Wow.
Yeah.
Mate, I can already tell this is going to be such a satisfying process.
Yeah. It's great when you see it work,
So
all the presses are stamping.
Yeah.
So the presses themselves, as you know, we're a very old company. All these presses are around 50 years old.
50 years old?
50 years old, yeah, but they'll run forever, They get serviced weekly, they get stripped down and cleaned every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It's all, they're in perfect working order. What we've got, so there's numbers at the top of each press that represent the tonnage.
Okay.
So 4 of them are 360 tons of pressure.
360 tons of pressure?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got 2 of them at 180 tons.
Right.
And around the corner is the big one, that's a 600 ton press.
What are you stamping with that?
the huge DBX wings. That was what that would become. And other things as well. So, you know, with the likes of precious metal, 18 karat gold and platinum, you need that extra pressure. Because what you'll see when we're walking around, you know, this first process, it's not a case of one stamp in the press and the details up. Metal goes work hard when you stamp. So you imagine you've got this piece of metal here, and you're stamping with, let's just take the 360. Let's say we crank it up to 300 tons. But when you're compressing metal, you're obviously squeezing it together. It will only stamp, it will only move so far. Then it goes what's called work hard. That's when we get it under the torch and we'll fire it until it's red hot, and then we cool it, and that changes the makeup of the metal itself. It softens the material, and then it goes back in. But that process on a wings badge is repeated about 6 to 8 times.
Seriously? So it gets stamped 6 to 8 times?
Well, no,
effectively.
It's actually more than that. It'll have, every stamp is called a blow, so it'll have 2 consecutive blows, and then it's annealed. And then that's then repeated 6 to 8 times after annealing. So you're looking at more like, you know, like 12 to 16 blows of that.
This is what I'm talking about, right? So half of my aim from this is the next time you see a Aston badge, you're not going to just dismiss it as a badge.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
I mean, we're 5 minutes in the door, and you've told me that it's worked up to 13, 14 times. We're at stage 1.
That's stage one. That's stage 1.
How many hours do you think goes into an average, if there is such thing as an average badge?
Well, if we were making just one badge, we had just one badge in the factory to make, you're probably looking at 2 days, about 2 days.
2 days?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
2 days for one badge?
Yeah, because if you think about it, the stamping process itself is going to be a few hours.
Okay.
And then you've got to clip it, and then we have to put pins in the back, which is for one of the final processes.
Right.
And then there's the enamelling. The enamelling is hours and hours, because the enamelling process has got 7, 8, maybe 9 sub-processes to it as well. So then from there you've then got linishing, and then you've got polishing, and you've got chrome plating. But the biggest part of it is the way we run this factory is no one's employed on piecework here. Okay. Everyone is employed by Vortons. Right. Which means everyone is responsible for their own work, so they have to monitor their own quality. So rather than having an inspection at the end of the process, it's inspected at every process. Right. So you should technically have a flawless quality inspection process, because and they don't pass it on to the next stage, to the next pair of hands, until they've signed it all off. So if they've got an issue with it, they hold it back and quarantine it, which is obviously why we have, you know, the standards are so high here. Given us last year, we supplied, say, 35,000 badges to Aston Martin with 0% reject rate. Zero.
Over 35,000 badges.
But that also equates to just under 90,000 components, because some of the badges are multi-parts. So actually, you know, so 90,000 separate components, and it was 0%. We don't make a habit of passing anything that we find isn't not Aston Martin quality, but not Vorton's quality. Sure. Because if it's not good enough here, then it's not going to be good enough for the car. So we want to make sure it's right here before it goes out.
So cool. You know, when you start telling these stories, you know, really, this is what it's all about, to have a greater sense of appreciation for it, because it's easy to, you know, see one of these cars drive by or parked up in a car park and go, okay, nice car. But I think after this journey, I want people to look at individual components and go, that was Nick, you know, that was Nick, and that was his stage.
This will be a 150 badge, 150mm, which we'll put on, say, DB11 and DBS. Right. But if you look at that, that's how you can see there's a slight shadow of the text there, and you can see the veins are starting to show through. That's had just one blow at just shy of 500 tons.
So that's one press?
That's one press, so one double press. Okay. And that's what I say about it going work hard.
So each side?
Yeah, so it's a male and a female tool. So I'll show you a tool, an example. But you have to, because of the thickness of the badge, there's no way that will come up with say just the bottom die, the female die. So you need the male force to push in to the female to help. It's got to push in the back to help create this detail. But that's what I mean by saying this will be annealed, say 6 or 8 times. I see. Because that's now rock hard. That is way too hard to just put straight back in.
I just assumed it was one stamp with, you know, like with the embossing of the logo. You just sort of went, there it is. You know?
So not people think that.
Both sides have got their own shape.
They have to. They have to. Wow. To create the lift that you need. So this depth here, it will never come up otherwise.
And that's being pressed up 500 tons.
That's 500 tons. One thing I didn't mention as well, when you're stamping, you're not just compressing, you're spreading metal. So Can you see how the metals? You see how you've got this stretch here. So this is what we call the flash or the waste material.
Okay.
So what we do after we've annealed it, we then clip it down. So we get rid of this because we're reducing the surface area.
Okay.
So when the surface area is reduced, the pressure obviously is increased back onto that part of the badge again, and which will help to raise more detail. Because when we use our enamel, when we inlay with the glass enamel, you need sharp edges. It has to go to a sharp edge for when we fire that. Okay. Because that's all done with a torch as well, or in an oven. If it's not meeting a sharp edge, and we've just got a rounded detail, when we then do another process called linishing, the enamel will just chip out. So then you get big chips in the enamel.
This is what I'm talking about, man. It's not just a badge. It's great. I love it, man. It's brilliant. Fantastic.
So that's that. So we'll now go and stamp, and then we'll get you annealing. All right. Mega. So step up to the plate.
Cool. The badge as well for the DBX is slightly larger, isn't it?
Yes, it's the biggest badge now. It's 180mm.
Wow.
Which is actually the same size that used to be on the Signet, which was the smallest car.
You're kidding me? Really? Funny.
This is you now.
It's a big moment, man.
It is.
Am I about to make my own badge here?
You're about to make your own badge, and if you break it, you owe me a load of money.
No pressure. Okay.
Okay, so we're doing it in the 360, so it's 360 tons of pressure.
Okay.
It's going to be fairly straightforward. Everything's set up for you.
Yeah.
Simply place the blank into the die.
Okay.
Okay. Like so. Make sure we cover all the detail. All right.
Okay.
And it is nerve-wracking. It is a bit unnerving the first time you do it because yes, it's a lot of pressure, literally. But as long as we make sure that we are completely covering the badge, so just go across there, and we know we're good. And then what we'll do, we'll push and we'll hold the button, and it will come down, and we'll give it 2 consecutive blows. Okay, go for it.
Well, this is quite a moment. I'm not sure if this will end up on a car, but I'm going to stick this on my car.
Yeah, well, yeah, why not?
It's going to be great. Okay, so I think that looks fairly central, right?
Press and hold. And let go. There you go. Give it one more because you see how it half dropped again. Yeah. So go one more. And then let go. There you go. That's all right. I think it's on inch. There you go. You can take that out.
So there is some skill to that.
Yeah.
What we've deduced from this is I can't press a button very well.
It's your first time.
How satisfying is that?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow.
So now what we've got now is we've got the badge has gone work hard.
Okay.
Okay. Which means it's not going to move any more than that. So this is where we need to anneal it to soften it. So this is where we soften the metal, and this requires
extreme heat.
A torch. This is where it gets really fun.
Okay.
Okay. So we're just going to load them up, and what we'll do is fairly straightforward. Stop when it turns red. Red means stop.
Okay. Well, I didn't expect to be doing this this afternoon, but here we go. Oh, that feels good, man.
Okay, nice and dry.
All right.
Nice and clean. So that's now ready for the next blow in the press.
So this will go through a press again.
Oh, that will go through that 4 or 5 more times.
So when you say a blow, that's a whole round of that.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
I thought you meant you would stamp it like 30 times.
No. So it's had its two consecutive blows. So bang bang. Onto the torch. Cleaned up in the acid and bright dipped, dried off. That's now ready for round 2.
So you do all that again?
We do all that again another 5 times, 6 times.
Fire, acid, everything?
Yeah, and then we have to do what's called clipping it to shape.
Okay.
So we get rid of the waste metal, the excess metal around it, because we only want this wing.
Yes.
We only want that. We don't want any of this waste.
Okay.
So that's got to go.
Right.
Okay, so we just with this same badge.
And this is, as you say, stage 1, despite the fact that there's like multiple stages to stage 1. This is just the pressing stage.
Just the pressing. This is just stage 1.
Yeah. Crikey. I'm never going to look at a badge the same way again, man. Seriously, I think it's fantastic.
True. It's true. Right, James. First part of the metal finishing, the plating side of things, will be the hot soap cleaner.
Okay.
We'll submerge the badges into this for probably 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how dirty they are.
Right.
The dirt will be from the polishing compound that we've used to polish the edges and the fronts of the badges before coming here. So they'll sit into here for 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we take them over to our ultrasonic cleaner, which is behind you.
Ultrasonic cleaner.
So what we do with this is we'll turn it on.
Yeah.
And it creates high frequency waves through the water, again, this is a hot soap cleaner again,
right?
But with the frequency that passes through it.
Okay.
So then what that effectively does is it shakes any excess dirt that hasn't come off in here, which will shake the rest of off in here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, it's all, it's all.
There's so many stages to this thing. So many stages.
And this is a really important part as well. If there's any dirt left on the badges, and then we plate the parts with a slight speck of dirt, that will create a bubble or a lift. Probably the most important part is the preparation.
Yeah.
Any slight dirt that's left on the badge, if it goes into the nickel tank or the chrome tank, that slight bit of dirt will create a lift or a bubble in the badge, which will, in time, peel off, which leaves you with a reject part. Yeah. So we have to make sure that our badges are, again, pristine before they even have a coating of plating on them.
Wow.
So very important, the ultrasonic.
Okay.
Which then brings us to the electro cleaner.
Okay.
Again, this is a third cleaner.
Yeah.
And what this does, we have a mild current going through it as well. So you've got your cathode. The anode will be the metal frame. Yes. Where the work is wired onto. Okay. In here, there's a mixture of cyanide and soap. Right. And then when you submerge the badges into here, the badges will start fizzing. What that does, fizzing helps with if there's still dirt on here, then the dirt will definitely be taken off in this tank. Your badges aren't having nickel plate or chrome plate; they're a completely different finish. But more often than not, they'll go from here into the nickel tank, which is where we then put, say, the protective nickel layer on before the chrome. Yeah, mate. And then from there,
so many stages.
Yeah, there's loads and loads. Yours being the finish that they are, we're going to do trying to get a dark antique brass sort of finish, as we discussed. So it's a range of 2 different vats here. There's various chemicals in here. A lot of it's what we call a chem bronze. Right. And when we dip it, so as we're dipping, the metal itself is changing colour. It's getting darker and darker. So when the badges first started out, they're a nice pink, coppery colour. And as the more we dip them and the longer we leave them in for, they'll start going darker, like a dark grey, slowly turn to black. Okay. And then once we've got that finish, then we'll go to the next stage of the process, which is the finishing. Because then what we need to do then is take some of that black off again and kind of expose the copper underneath or the brass underneath. Wow. Right, James, this is the penultimate phase before the lacquering. So this is where we'll kind of hand over to you. You can let John know how light or dark you want the badge to go. So it'll start, we'll relieve part of it. Okay. If it's not enough, we'll take more off. So this is now over to you to decide.
So once we've decided on this finish, this is what will make the production car final badge finish?
Yes, yeah, definitely.
No pressure again then?
Not at all, no.
All right, John. All right, so the idea is that we're trying to leave this darker black background, and then the veins of the wings, the outer edge in the Aston Martin logo, John's going to polish it back so that it will reveal the sort of bronzy colour under it. And so it's at this stage we are going to finalise how much of that bronze shows up against that black backing. It's amazing how subtle it is, right?
Yeah. Okay. Pressure. If you put too much pressure, it takes a lot off.
It's really starting to pop now. It's really great seeing it happen. What's amazing about all of these stages which we're finally seeing in reality is we've been working off renders and Photoshop files and just bouncing emails backwards and forwards with the Q team to dream up this spec. And now we're here, physically seeing it being creative.
I'll do
Look at that.
The same.
Yeah, fantastic. Here's our before and after. So we've kept this black backing, and all of the veins have just been brought out in this sort of bronzy brass shade. And the idea of this is that it is in keeping with the theme of the car. So we have a black Alcantara, black leather with a contrast front stitch. So all of those subtle accents on the inside will be tied in together nicely with subtle accents on the outside.
These are just some of the dies that we store here for customers. Some of them are our own dies as well. We've got about 20,000 at the moment.
20,000?
Yeah, around 20,000. Everything from down here we've got, say, the old Volante dies and the old DB6 dies. So they're 50, 60 years old. We've got jobs here for Kuwait, Oman, so various royal families. Constabularies, HMRC, we've got sports medals, so the Premier League dies somewhere, there's the Football League dies somewhere else.
Really?
I mean, the biggest one really is the Football League, because we've got those dies going all the way back 130 years, which is how long we've supplied the Football League for. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you could walk along and see some. I could see the 5 there for DB5 straight away. So you could walk along and pick something up and go, oh my
amazing.
God, you did that. And then here we've got a lot of our clipping and piercing tools, as we discussed downstairs.
Yeah.
Once you've created the stamping and you want to get rid of that flash material, you use different range of clipping and piercing tools to get rid of that scrap material that you don't want. So yeah.
Presumably there are items here which have sat on the shelf for over 100 years?
Oh yeah. We've got, just down at the front here, we've got an old Rolls-Royce die that has got to have been 1910, 1920.
So this is your quality control final inspection room, is it?
It is, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So aside from having the inspection all the way through the stages, different processes, through the different pairs of hands, we now come to this is the final frontier of inspection. Yeah. All we've got left to do is to take the pins off the back, which were for the chrome plating, and then put the tape on. Right. But as far as it goes, it's mirror chrome, it's just polished, mirror polished, automotive chrome plated, and that should pretty much be good to go.
It's quite strange because you're so familiar with how the Aston Martin logo looks, but I don't think I've ever got so close to one. The intricacy of it, it's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. And the things we can do with it as well. You know, your badges, they haven't had enamel, but we've managed to get a completely different finish, a completely different texture from it as well, because we've done the sandblasting and the highlighting, and then we've done the dipping, and then we've used a different sort of mop on the lathe to create a different texture on the outer detail. So from an identical badge, you've just created something completely different and totally unique. I'm still gobsmacked that I'm here creating what will ultimately be a small piece of Aston Martin history. Really, it's incredible.
Yeah.
You know,
and you know, you'll be the first and only one with that.
That's wild.
With that finish.
It's really crazy, mate.
Ever.
Really crazy. Yeah, it's great. Well, Nick, thank you so much, mate. It's truly been eye-opening. I'm the first to put my hands up and say when I was on my way here, in fact, I spoke to Sam, the guy behind the lens filming this now. I was like, you know, it probably won't be too long. How long can it possibly take to make this badge? You know, how wrong was I? Because the amount of labour and skill and processes involved in something which is seemingly so simple has actually blown my mind. Yeah. So,
well, I'm exhausted. So.
Well done, mate. It's brilliant. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Thank you. Cheers. So, the next time you'll see this, I shall be applying it to the front and rear of our very own DBX. Massive thank you to Nick and Vortons for showing us around, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and we shall see you next time. Ciao.